One singular game stands between you and the fantasy football championship matchup, or maybe it's one game until you're really worried about suffering your league's punishment. Either way, today we have 12 players and whether you should be starting or sitting them in your important Week 16 matchup. Now, I don't know about you, Ty, but when I was putting together my list of players for this week, I felt the extra gravity because I didn't want to just give people the layups to get them into their fantasy football championship, but I also didn't want to choose players that I just flat out don't believe in or don't think provide managers any upside going into this week. And I think you balance that here very uniquely with your running back start of the week being Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones, yes, he threw up a dud last week, but hey, guess what we're doing this week? We're running it back. We are running it back. Yeet, because Aaron Jones will fall somewhere in my rankings, and I don't want to speak for you, but I can assume he's going to fall somewhere between running back 19, running back 24 this week because of the matchup that he has against this Giants defense. Any running back that falls in that 19 to 24 range is essentially the low volume guys that have decent to good matchups that you're willing to take a chance on finding the end zone. Aaron Jones just tops the list for me this week. The Giants run defense this year, allowing the second most rushing yards per game, the most yards per carry. They're top 5 in rushing touchdowns allowed as well. So yes, am I asking a lot for a guy that only has one rushing touchdown all year long? Yeah, maybe, possibly. But this Minnesota offense is playing better over the last 2 weeks, granted against lighter defenses, but that's what this Giants defense is. It's a nice prime matchup for Aaron Jones to find the end zone yet again. I'll take my chances this week.
You look at the Giants recently as well. I mean, Corey Krosky-Merritt just put up 15 on him again, 18 for 96. He did get a rushing touchdown there, but hopefully you can supplement some of that with Aaron Jones in the receiving game as well. You had split time between Ramondre and Travion, but that was an explosion spot for the Patriots that you wish they would have taken advantage of, and you know they could have taken advantage of. You saw Jahmyr Gibbs literally obliterate this Giants defense, 219 rushing yards, gave you 2 receptions as well through the air. You can run, catch, you can do kind of whatever you want against this Giants defense. And if the emphasis for JJ McCarthy is to simply go out there and, like, it's so stupid to say out loud, but to go out there and have fun because the season isn't on the line, you're basically playing for development at this point. Why not help develop him even more by feeding Aaron Jones the football? Maybe not just in the run game, but getting him going in the receiving game as well. So I really don't hate the matchup here against the Giants. Are you considering, you talked about your ranking specifically for Aaron Jones, so are you considering him like a strong running back too this week? Or for me, I'm like, he's a flex play for me. And I feel comfortable slotting him in as your flex play matchup wise if you need him. But I feel like he's not guaranteed a locked and loaded RB2 for me.
Yes. I mean, the highest that I'm ranking him is a low end running back too. So I'm not going out of my way to say that like he's a strong running back start, which probably puts him into that flex territory, like you were saying. And on a week where, I'll be honest, wide receiver matchups are absolutely abysmal.
The wide receiver matchups stink this week. Not stink, but
they are not.
There's about a solid 18, and then you're like, maybe.
Dart throws. That's a little too.
That's a little too pessimistic.
Right? Yeah, but
we'll get to our wide receiver starts, and you'll see what we mean.
You'll see. That's what I mean though. Of like, I don't have much faith in wide receivers this week, except for like the top tier guys. So if I have an Aaron Jones on my bench, yeah, I'm probably going to start him in my flex spot if I don't have enough receivers to start this week.
100%. Before I get to my start of the week here, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, it is one of the easiest and the most free way to support the work that we do. If you hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell as well, you'll get alerted when all of our newest content is out. Yes, we want to provide you our insights like we have all season long to help get you to the fantasy football championship, to help you take home the whole thing, right? But our hope along the way is that we remind you of the fun and camaraderie that comes with the game of fake football, the friendship that Cam, Ty, and I share through fantasy football. We know it's been the same for a lot of you out there as well. So if you want to continue supporting our work, continue following along, laughing with us every step of the way, this is the place you're going to want to be. You can hit that subscribe button and follow along. My running back start of the week, we're going to go Rico Dowdle here. I'm electing to not be as concerned about the timeshare with Chuba Hubbard because Dave Canales is electing to play Rico Dowdle on the early downs and Chuba Hubbard in more of this third down pass catching role. Unless if Chuba Hubbard gets the hot hand in this offense, this isn't a drive by drive rotation like we're getting with the Los Angeles Rams and Blake Corum and Kyron Williams or DeAndre Swift and Calvin Ungai. The Bucks aren't this pristine matchup for running backs who Rico Dowdle gets this week, but I'd say they're a favorable one, right? They've allowed a running back to top 13 fantasy points in 5 of their last 6 games. You've got the division on the line here between the Bucks and Panthers. I think the Panthers do stay competitive in this game, which means I think we do see slightly more Rico Dowdle than playing from behind Chuba Hubbard and passing down scenarios. And that could also just mean more scoring opportunities here for Rico Dowdle as well, if this is indeed a back and forth affair. So Rico Dowdle, for me, he clocks in as a top 20 running back for me this week. I do like him ahead of Aaron Jones. And for me, I'm just kind of looking fondly on what he's provided you this season and say it's a good enough matchup. Go ahead, let's lock it in.
I can't help but agree with you on the fact that like this is a plus matchup for Rico Dowdle, that 18 carries and 16 carries, and we haven't topped 60 yards the last 2 games.
It's concerning. One of those games against the Rams last week against the Saints was probably the game that you were kind of hoping for, that he would kind of break one, have a big one. Even their run defense has been a bit more buttoned up recently. I don't want to give it more credit than it deserves, but
I think the most important stat, you mentioned it, was it 13 fantasy points, right? 13 fantasy points to running backs in 5 of their last 6 games that Tampa has
12
allowed.
If you want to include Ty Johnson and his numbers, but I figured that was kind of fluky enough where it wasn't worth including. That's just like inflating stats for inflating stats.
That's literally one play.
Right.
So I agree. I also view Rico, honestly, in that same kind of like Aaron Jones tier. They're probably going to be back-to-back in my rankings because I'm like, these are by far the 2 most favorable matchups for 2 guys that should be getting touches. You can nitpick at the fact that maybe, game script, they're not going to get a ton of receiving work or something like that. But these are the 2 guys that I'm definitely going to bank on, or at least take my chances on finding the end zone because the matchups are right there for it.
Curious your thoughts on the split here with the Panthers. I mentioned I think it leans slightly more Rico in this matchup. It was like 65-35-ish. We're going to put rough numbers on it in week 15. I'm leaning to this being more like 70-30, I think, in this matchup.
Probably. I guess it really does come down to the game plan that Carolina comes in with. If they try to keep Tampa off of the sideline or like off of the field, it wouldn't surprise me if we kind of stay closer to that 65-35, maybe even 60-40, if we really want to like try to keep Tampa's offense off the field as much as possible. But what it comes down to for me is the fact that Rico Dowdle gets the most valuable touch, and that's the goal line, that's the red zone, that's all of that kind of work. So as long as Rico continues to get that, I don't really care what the split is, even though it's worth knowing about, just because again, what we got at the, earlier this year where we're getting like 200 rushing yard games and stuff like that. But as long as he continues to get the highest value touches, I don't really put much stock into the split between him and Chuba.
Jake Seeley of The Athletic wrote a great piece on kind of the impact of Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard's play in regards to the score of the given game for the Carolina Panthers. I don't remember the exact number specifically, but you can tell when the Panthers are down, that's when Chuba Hubbard starts filtering in more. When they are kind of within neck and neck with their opposing teams or playing from ahead, it is totally the Rico Dowdle show. So that's why I think if the Panthers do stay competitive in this game, Rico Dowdle is probably going to end up being a very solid top 20, borderline top 15 play this week. A couple of running backs you should be sitting this week, Ty. It's also important to get those right. Jaylen Warren against the Detroit Lions this week. This is a game we'll also be talking about later. I'm very much with you on this one. I think for the reason that you'll talk about, but for another reason, I'm curious to see if you bring up as well.
So Jaylen Warren last week, we can have we could have the debate. Like, was it because he was not at 100% because he was sick? Is that why playing time was down for Jaylen Warren and hence not a good game? We could have that conversation for days, honestly. But here's what it comes down to for me with Jaylen Warren. We haven't topped 40 rushing yards in 3 straight games. against Buffalo, which was kind of your hope that like we could keep the streak of 60 rushing yards that we had before that. Can only get 13 against Baltimore and 33 against Miami. Yes, both of those run defenses are a little buttoned up, like you had mentioned with New Orleans. But that's what Jaylen Warren is banking on, because he's not getting a super great amount of receiving work. He's getting just enough that you're like, maybe there's some intrigue. But knowing that the rushing volume or the rushing production hasn't been great, we're going on the road to the second best fantasy defense against running backs this year in Detroit. And your competition might just be the wide receiver one on this team. We're asking for a lot for Jaylen Warren to really produce for you in a crucial week in week 16, whether you're trying to avoid your punishments or you're trying to make the championship game. Jaylen Warren is not worth getting cute over in my eyes. And I honestly am okay kind of sitting Warren the rest of the year, because then you get Cleveland in week 17.
Yeah, Warren is one of those guys where very comfortably the entire year you're playing him as a low end running back too, kind of in that RB 18 to 24 range. The thing I want to specifically point out is we all love Jaylen Warren's ability in the passing game in years past. Let me just read you the receiving logs for Kenny Gainwell over the last 5 weeks. You've got 7 catches going back to week 11 on 8 targets for 81 yards and 2 scores for Kenny Gainwell against the Bengals. Week 12, 6 catches on 6 targets for 30 yards. Week 13, down week, 2 catches on 3 targets for 25 yards. Wait a second, though. Against Baltimore, 6 catches on 7 targets for 27 yards. And then against Miami, week 15, 7 catches on 7 targets for 47 yards. You're not even getting a boost. All that big of a boost in the receiving game. If this was like a dead even 50-50 split of both of these guys are getting 12 carries, both of these guys are getting 4 targets a game, yeah, you can live with that. You can stomach that a little bit more. But especially in an unfavorable match with the Detroit Lions, you're not even getting any pass catching upside here with Jaylen Warren. And I don't want to get like overly cute, but is there a world where Kenny Gainwell is just flat out the better play than Jaylen? I'm not telling you to start Kenny Gainwell, but like when I go finish up my rankings here before we release them on Thursday, when you're probably watching this video before Thursday Night Football, there might be a world where I actually have Kenny Gainwell very, very close to Jaylen Warren, if not ahead of him in my rankings. And that's not an overreaction to last week. It is just purely, it's a bad matchup for both running backs. Who's going to catch more passes and give me more PPR upside?
This feels like Kmart version of Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson, where we all think that Jaylen Warren is the more capable back that can handle the receiving work on top of the rushing work that he has right now. But for whatever reason, Arthur Smith wants to get Kenny Gainwell / Tyler Algier involved. Maybe that's a terrible comp, but like I think the game logs and the stats should just speak for this though. Like, this is not one that you can try to galaxy brain. It's been like this for the past 5 weeks. I don't think it's going to change anytime soon.
It's like you say Kmart, Algier, and Bijan. I'm thinking Kmart, LeGarrette Blount, and James White from the New England Patriots days. That's what I'm thinking between these two. Where it's like,
oh well,
I'm not uber thrilled with either option, but hey, James White is going to catch a crap ton of passes for me though. At least get me there from a PPR standpoint, which is what he's been doing the last 5 weeks.
That's probably the better one. I was just trying to keep the Arthur Smith connection, but that's probably the more like accurate player for player.
Fair enough.
Comps.
Fair enough. I'll pivot to my sit of the week. I really thought at this point in the season we'd be telling you to play Amari and Hampton no matter the matchup. Unfortunately, derailed by injuries, and at one point during the season, you see Amari and Hampton versus the Dallas Cowboys, and you're thinking, oh boy, what a juicy matchup. But no. This is a full-blown committee with Kamani Vidal as Hampton is easing back into action here. Hampton did have more attempts than Vidal last week. He had 3 more exactly, but he was still outsnapped 42-24 by Kamani Vidal. And I do expect Amari and Hampton to increase his snap share, but I just don't think it amounts to anything fantasy relevant or startable in the fantasy playoffs here against the Dallas Cowboys. People can go to the fantasy points allowed charts and see that Dallas is still top 5 in points allowed to running backs over their last month. But that's weighted by one Jahmyr Gibbs game. one singular Jahmyr Gibbs game. That is not representative of how much better this Dallas Cowboys defense has been since acquiring Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson. Since week 11, Dallas is allowing only 3.7 yards per carry to running backs while allowing only 283 rushing yards to running backs. That is the second fewest in that stretch, only to the Denver Broncos. So in this Chargers offensive line is essentially playing backups to backups at the tackle position at this point. The guard center guard combo is less than impressive right now. I would say they've been like borderline bad this year. I just don't see Hampton having any success for room this week. This is a guy where you can maybe make a case for high upside, but given the context of everything else, the floor is like 3.5 points maybe. And that's just like, to me, not worth taking the plunge on in the fantasy playoffs.
No, I really don't have much interest in Amari and Hampton either. Josh and Hayden talked about it in their film versus stats video, which highly recommend. You should go check that out. Kamani Vidal got more snaps than Amari and Hampton for pass protection because this offensive line can't protect. The Cowboys don't necessarily bring a ton of pressure, so maybe the snaps kind of even out. I don't really think so, though. This Cowboys front has been very, very impressive since bringing in Quinnen Williams, like you were saying. So, yes, while Amari and Hampton will get on the field and will likely touch the ball when he's on the field, it's the empty calorie carries again that we've dealt with other running backs throughout the year. So, this one, yes, you will see 13 and 15 carries of back-to-back games since coming back from his injury, but just know that, like, again, they're not really going to go anywhere. I'm not expecting them to go anywhere with the state of the Chargers offense and the state of this Dallas run defense.
Especially when you look at this offensive line, man, like not even the passing game that was clicking earlier in the season can get in rhythm because you just don't have time to do anything, right? I'm genuinely concerned that this Chargers offensive line is just going to get mauled by this Dallas defensive line. I can't believe I'm saying that because earlier in the season, this would be a smash spot with a fully healthy Chargers offensive line before the trade deadline with Dallas. This was a smash matchup for the Los Angeles Chargers. Now it's like, oh boy, I can't believe I'm saying that the Dallas Cowboys might actually maul the Chargers front in this game. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog, where you can get into the game this season playing Pick'em. It's extremely simple. Just pick higher or lower on 2 or more of your favorite players. For example, I'll pick the higher on Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Xavier Worthy. If I played $10 and got all 3 of them right, I would win $60 just by watching football. And that's the beauty of Pick'em. You can track your picks and your wins while you enjoy the game. Now, if you're not on Underdog yet, scan the QR code on your screen or use our code FELLAS when you sign up because new customers will get $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5 on the app. Plus, Underdog will give you a free pick to use in your first entry. Again, that's code FELLAS over on Underdog. Now let's get you back to the rest of the show. Let's kick it on over to wide receivers now, Ty. We mentioned at the top, the wide receiver matchups a little bit more tricky this week. I looked at your start of the week, and I'm really curious to hear your argument on this one. I don't know if I could swallow playing Zay Flowers this week. This is really scary to me with the Fantasy Football Championship on the line. Going to the Fantasy Football Championship on the line, I should clarify. But go ahead, make your case. Tell me why I should be playing Zay Flowers in the leagues that I do not have him in this week, because I don't have a single share of Zay Flowers in my managed leagues.
Neither do I, so I don't have to sweat this one out. But here's where I will step in and be your friend if you have Zay Flowers on your team. This is a must-win game for Baltimore. Okay, you're a game behind Pittsburgh in the division. You're going against New England, who will also be trying to win this game because they are now officially 1 game behind Denver for the 1 seed. So you know what that tells me? Points. That's what that tells me. Tells me points. And Flowers over, I can't count. So since the week 7 bye, he has only 1 game with less than 58 yards. And we look at this matchup with New England. They play an above average rate of man coverage. Zay Flowers is among like the league leaders in target rate against man coverage. He's targeted on 28% of his routes against man coverage. So Zay is kind of the go-to guy for Lamar Jackson, probably because Mark Andrews can't really get open. Isaiah Likely can't really get open. Rashad Bateman can't stay healthy. Devontae Walker is a 4th-round rookie that needs a lot of development. DeAndre Hopkins has been showing his age. So Zay Flowers is kind of the solution here for Baltimore. overall, I like the floor, which I never thought I would ever say about Zay Flowers. But Zay Flowers has a floor. Ever since that week 7 bye, he has only one game with less than 11 PPR points. So if he finds the end zone, awesome. That's even
That's pretty far. I'm going to step in and say that's pretty far stretched. 2 touchdowns on the season.
Hey man.
You
Points
say
need
if
to be
as if
scored.
it's like a 50-50 shot.
Points need to be scored. I'm just saying there's a greater than 50% chance. Might just be 51%, but hey, that's more than 50%. Okay. I know that Zay Flowers, again, when I say there's a floor with Zay Flowers, look, this is the game script is already written out for me in this way that Baltimore needs to throw the ball. Zay Flowers is the guy against man coverage. That is the matchup here. This should be a good game for Zay Flowers. He should come away with 13, 14 fantasy points for you. He scored last week. He had, again, with 100 yards the week before. That's your upside. So to me, again, everything checks out. Matchup points to another kind of 13, 14 points. And that's kind of what you need right now. When you look at the state of the wide receiver position that we talked about earlier, you may need just what you can get from Zay Flowers this week.
I will agree with you in the fact that I do not think Zay Flowers will be the player that costs you a trip to the fantasy football championship or costs you to be in the punishment bowl in your league. But because of that, I do want to play a name game because I don't think it's fair to just sit here and say he's got a safe floor, because then you also have to compare that with players who could give you more upside and like give you the boom week that locks in a win for sure. And I think there's a lot of players here around Zay Flowers that a lot of managers are going to be deciding between. So quick little name game. Let's start with a really fascinating one. Zay Flowers or Juwan Jennings against the Colts this week?
Probably Juwan Jennings slightly for me.
I lean Juwan Jennings in that regard as well. Cortland Sutton against the Jaguars.
I like Zay Flowers.
I'm going to lean Sutton on that one, mostly because Sutton's been getting it done. Again, I feel more comfortable with him going 4 for 60 in a score than I do Zay Flowers just going 4 for 60 and not getting me the touchdown. Like, I think that the variance in touchdown there could be the difference between those two players. It's the only reason why I lean Sutton is I think he has a higher chance of getting me a touchdown this week.
It should be known I do have trust issues with Sean Payton, so maybe that's,
that's
going to set me up to fail.
As do a lot of people. As does David Sills catching a touchdown last week, as Lil Jordan Humphrey catching a touchdown. Who else caught a touchdown? It was the first touchdown of the week. Dude, I had literally never heard of before.
Bandy or whatever.
There, yeah. Freaking, God,
I can't remember his first name. Bandy.
Isn't it Mike Bandy?
Couldn't tell you.
Michael Bandy. Yeah, Michael Bandy caught a touchdown. Yep. That's why you got trust issues with Sean Payton.
Exactly.
Let's keep going in this name game. Terry McLaurin against Philly.
Oh, Zay Flowers.
I think I lean Zay Flowers on that one as well. Devonta Smith, same game against Washington.
Zay Flowers.
Really?
Yes.
I lean Devonta Smith in that one.
I hate that we keep ranking Devonta Smith on the chance that good matchup, they're gonna have to throw the ball. When they throw the ball, it goes to AJ Brown. It's not really split between him and Devonta Smith anymore. So I want to stop the train of thought of, well, it could be a Devonta Smith week. It hasn't been the last 3 weeks.
Yep. You playing Zay over Jefferson against the Giants?
Yes.
Somebody is making that decision this week.
Yes, I am.
I think I am too. You literally, I don't know what the heck you do with Justin Jefferson. It's too good of a matchup to sit him, but he's probably going to be my wide receiver 24.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay, last player I want to talk about. Ladd McConkey against Dallas for Zay Flowers this week. That's another one that I think a lot of people are going to be sweating between.
They're going to be back to back in my rankings, and I'm going to give the edge to Zay Flowers.
I think I'll give the edge to Zay as well. It's not going to be my much. It's just literally the fact that this Chargers offense is falling apart without an offensive line. So as you can tell, Zay Flowers is a fascinating conversation where I don't think he's going to give you immense upside, but because of all these just like fascinating offensive situations and or just not as great matchup for wide receivers. Again, once you get to Zay, which is like wide receiver 16, I basically listed wide receiver 16 to wide receiver 24 in Fantasy Pros consensus rankings. Like that's the range of players we're talking about here. So yeah, Zay Flowers is a guy I think he probably does slot in as a wide receiver too, but I don't have as much confidence in him as I do some of the other guys that we listed out there. Shockingly enough, we're going to try and move something else.
No. I can't wait for you to get to your start because I feel like this is another conversation worth having.
Yeah. DK Metcalf against the Detroit Lions. I don't feel great about this one. I'll just be perfectly honest with you. I am nervous about this pick because the Steelers pass game has been anything but consistent this year. And I think that's putting it mildly. But you want to know like a wild reality for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year? This is crazy when I learned this today. They haven't played a single game indoors this year. They have been outdoors in every single game. Now, that's not to say that all their games have been impacted by weather. They've been in bad weather games. That's why their offense hasn't been as good through the air, right? I'm not trying to say that, but this is their first game under a roof in a controlled climate against a Detroit Lions team that you want to target in these situations where passing situations aren't impacted by weather. Over the last month, the Lions defense has given up, Ty, turn on your listening ears for this one, 52.6 points per game to wide receiver. 50 freaking 2 points per game. That is 10 more points per game than any other team in the league over the last month. They've allowed 9.75 yards per target and have given up 7 touchdowns to receivers during that stretch, which is second to only the Los Angeles Rams as well. So you look at DK, I get it. It hasn't been great, but the last 5 weeks haven't been terrible. He's still been getting right around 7-8 targets per game this season. He's been top 20 in air yard share, yards after catch per reception, inside of the 20 targets, red zone targets as well. If you're looking for an upside play, I think I'm willing to take the stab on DK Metcalf and a team that's going to be chasing points against the Detroit Lions to send you to the championship for fantasy football in week 17. I think I like DK better than Zay Flowers this week.
That's
I can't believe I'm saying that. I was so done with DK in week 5. I'm like, I don't want to talk about this guy ever again. Now here I am, in the championship. I'm interested.
Oh, I mean, Zay Flowers and DK Metcalf are two peas in the same pot in the fact that they had a game with 100 yards and they scored last week. There's nothing that I can really rely on here with DK Metcalf on the year. Metcalf, wide receiver 22 in points per game on wide receiver 34 usage.
It's not great.
I mean, we're overachieving just a little bit, just a little bit. And when I look at the coverage that Detroit likes to run the most, it's a lot of man coverage. All right. A lot of man coverage. Do you know where DK ranks in terms of target rate on the Steelers against man coverage?
Tell the people.
Calvin Austin leads the team.
I'm not surprised by that.
I'm not surprised by it. Here's the other reality, though. We have a tight end problem here. Okay. Darnell Washington gets targeted more against man coverage. Hello. I understand that, yes, you can run man and that you don't really produce against man coverage, but fantasy points are still allowed to the position. I think this is just my way of saying I'm going to get bold. I would rather trust Zay Flowers in week 16 of my fantasy playoff matchup than try to rely on Arthur Smith.
I don't even think that's bold. I think that's just like, if you're a sane fantasy football manager, you just put your eggs in the Zay Flower basket of, well, at least he'll get me 9 points, versus Arthur Smith might get DK Metcalf 14 points this week, or he might only get him 3 catches for 25 yards and I'm stuck with 5.5 points in my lineup. I don't even think that's bold. I'm just saying I think the ceiling is higher for DK Metcalf. And if I need to launch myself into the fantasy football championship, I think DK Metcalf is going to give me a better chance of just outright winning my week than Zay Flowers does. That's all. That's the only argument I'm making, because I don't disagree. I can't disagree with metrics that are true. You literally read the numbers against man coverage. That's the counterpunch. That's a counter argument to this. So I don't agree with you in any capacity. I'm just saying I think the upside is there for DK Metcalf in just what I think is a substantially better matchup.
Is it? I mean, is it really? Here's what I'll say. I don't blame you. I can understand where you're coming from and thinking that DK's ceiling is higher than Zay Flowers. I totally get that. I personally see it almost the exact same. So coin flip maybe. If you're deciding between DK Metcalf and Zay Flowers,
I want to know what people would choose in the comments.
Sure. Yeah, let me know.
I want to know what they would pick in the comments.
I would really appreciate you guys not making me feel like an idiot. So would you please comment Zay Flowers? No, I'm not saying you were. I just know that people like Lucas and Matthew Stafford better. So I need to plead my case a little bit more.
Tell you what, maybe I need to see if I can ease my way into one of those immortal chambers after getting surgery on my back. Maybe I'll come out an MVP candidate, Betty.
Hey, man.
Hey, you know what? Stafford went in because of a bulging disc in his back, and that's the exact reason why I had surgery. So maybe I should have explored an immortal chamber before I had surgery this past weekend.
Ticking time bomb.
Why did I not think of this? That would have been the ruse of the century.
Ruse of the century. Also, you may not be recording right now because you may be on the street because that would be so expensive.
I literally don't think I could ever afford that. Do not get paid that much. Let's move on to sits. Wide receiver sits of the week, Ty. You're going same matchup for this one. You like Zay Flowers against New England, but you don't like Steph Diggs against Baltimore.
I don't. And it's baffling to me why New England keeps Diggs as just a rotation guy and that they'd rather sure, you want to roll out Kayshon Boutte because he plays more outside or he plays the outside spots better than Steph Diggs and whatnot. Why are we trying to make Mac Hollins a thing? That's what I want to know. Yeah. That's what everyone wants to know. It's just not worth it at this point. Okay. Since week 12, guess where Diggs ranks in usage?
Oh, we got to be like the wide receiver 50s, wide receiver 53.
Oh, try the wide receiver 82.
Oh, yikes. I mean, I knew the targets were only like 12, 13 targets over the last 3 weeks?
Averaging 4 a game. We haven't topped 26 yards in a game. I mean, where did Steph Diggs go? We need to sit down with Josh McDaniels and go, what did you do with our guy? Because we thought that at one point Diggs could be kind of the league. I shouldn't say the league winner, but it was kind of right there for the taking that Diggs could actually be like a game changer for your fantasy teams. Now that's kind of an afterthought at this point. On top of it, Baltimore, they're allowing the 9th fewest fantasy points from the slot this year. So it's Marlon Humphrey versus Steph Diggs all game long. I don't know, man. It's baffling. It's confusing. It's so I will never, even if you give me a valid reason as to why Diggs doesn't get on the field as much, I'm still going to go, well, you're wrong for not getting him on the field more. That may be your reason, but it's just flat out wrong. He's by far your best playmaker on the outside. You should be doing what you can to get him the ball. But for whatever reason, the team doesn't want to. So Diggs could absolutely cost you this week. Keep him on your bench.
Yeah, there's really only been 2 weeks this year where Steph Diggs has been like the guy you need to have in your lineup in order to win you your week. 10 on 12 targets for 146 against Buffalo back in week 5. And then I guess you can count as a wide receiver 14 finish back in week 11, 9 for 105 against the New York Jets. But other than that, it's full of just a bunch of wide receiver 35 to 50 or worse performances. I mean, 67, 59, 69 weekly finishes in his last 3 weeks. Like you mentioned, the usage just isn't there. Yeah, I just don't think Steph Diggs is a guy you need to find a way to force into your lineup this week. I mean, I'm seeing him ranked as the wide receiver 31 in Fantasy Pros consensus. I think I'd rather play DJ Moore against a Micah Parsonless Green Bay team this week. I think I'd consider even Khalil Shakir against Cleveland. I don't really even like the matchup there. And Adonai Mitchell, I'd probably
give me
play ahead
80
of Steph
Mitchell for
Diggs.
sure. Give me 80 Mitchell.
You could even potentially convince me into Troy Franklin. You could convince me into Romeo Dobbs. You can convince me into Jalen Coker with the division on the line.
Oh man,
You could convince me.
cokehead.
I'm trying to go as far down
Cokehead.
the line as I can here. See how far
Team
down I
Ray
can
DK
get. You could convince me of Alec Pierce over Steph Diggs this week.
with old man Phillip Rivers.
No, I take that back. I retract that
I
statement.
was gonna say, wow,
I retract that statement. Look, man, the whole Phillip Rivers thing just feels like a fever dream. Like I don't even think that game happened. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I remember Phillip. I literally thought, oh yeah, Phillip Rivers is out there literally like shot putting footballs. He's like chucking it as if like his shoulder literally cannot make a circular motion anymore. So
well, do you see the reports that like it's not even the reports, it's the fact that NFL like insurance, they cover your insurance for the 5 years after retirement, and he came back towards the end of the 5 years.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's because he knows he has to get some shoulder surgery, because again, when you see the way that he throws that ball, that is
not a throwing motion.
No, it is not.
Keishawn Butte is the other player you could convince me to play over Steph Diggs this week.
Probably. I honestly, let's talk about I would rather start the Patriots wide receiver 1 than Diggs at this point with Mac Hollins.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. I'd still play Diggs over Hollins, but Keishawn Butte, you can convince me on for sure. I'll maybe take a little bit of an easier route here. If you're thinking about Deebo Samuel in any capacity, Deebo is borderline droppable at this point. He's been held to less than 9 fantasy points in all 3 games since Terry McLaurin's return, which also totals to single-digit outings in 5 of his last 7 games. I know Deebo is getting mixed inside and out within this offense, but not only have the Eagles given up the second fewest points per game to wide receivers since week 8, but they've given up the fewest fantasy points per game in the slot during that stretch where Deebo is lined up 63% of the time this year. There's just no upside here with Deebo. And the floor is literally a goose egg. So you want a goose egg in your fantasy lineup come week 16 to get you to week 17? I didn't think so. I know these Commanders-Eagles games have been super fun. Like over the last 3 years, there have been some high-scoring, fun affairs between these two teams. That's just not going to be the case here this week against the Eagles with how good their secondary has been with Marcus Mariota at the helm. I'm good. I don't even tempt yourself with Deebo. He's just honestly, if you wanted to drop him for a handcuff running back stash, I'm good with that.
When we're playing roughly 60% of our snaps from the slot, and Philly, I don't know why it's not talked about more. Maybe I'm just not hearing it from the right places or looking for it from the right places, but Cooper DeJean has been absolutely locked down.
Clamps. It's Clamp City this year with Cooper DeJean. He's so freak. I can't believe the Eagles got him and Quinion Mitchell in the same draft. Absolutely stupid. Cooper DeJean should have been a first-round pick. I was saying it all off season. And everyone's like, he's a nickel. Don't freaking care. That dude's locks.
I've got no interest. Like you said,
46.5 receiving yards on the dog app.
Lower.
4.5 receptions on the dog app. You can get a boosted payout on the lower.
Let's go put one in right now, actually.
Underdog code fellas over there. If you want to get in, take some lowers on Deebo this week. I don't know how these numbers can be set so high. Cooper DeJean is just that good. And this Eagle secondary has been that good. Marcus Mariota at the helm. I just wait till the Deebo Samuel fantasy point projection comes out over on the dog app as well. If it's anything above 8, I'm taking the lower.
Yeah, his yards is already down a yard to 45. I'm expecting that to be closer to 40 by the time Saturday comes around.
It should be at 39.5, I think.
Correct.
At any rate, no need to play Deebo Samuel this week. Before we kick it over to quarterback streamers and tight ends, quarterback and tight end streamers, got that mixed up a little bit there. If you want some more advanced lineup help, if we didn't talk about a player that you are considering in your lineup this week, we do go live every Sunday before kickoff as well. Ty and I will be going live on Sunday to answer all of your start-sit questions ahead of Week 16. So again, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell as well. It's 100% free, so you're notified when we go live. We'll get that sucker scheduled on Saturday, so you're ready to tune in first thing Sunday morning and get your lineup set to advance to the Fantasy Football Championship. Or, hey, we'll do our best to keep you out of the league punishment as well. I can't believe it, Ty, that we still get to talk about Jacoby Brissett as a quarterback streamer. This feels illegal. He should be rostered in way more than 64% of Yahoo leagues and 48% of ESPN leagues. This is just a disgrace. This is literally a disgrace. This is lack of awareness from fantasy football managers. This is a level of ignorance that I think is just flat out ridiculous. Even 243.5 passing yards. If that number is until that number hits 264.5, I'm taking the over every single time. I'm taking the higher every single time. It's just ignorance. Jacoby Brissett has been so freaking good.
Do you want a free 20 points?
That's what it is. It's a free 20 points that people are just letting sit on their waiver wire.
For all of my people playing on ESPN, okay, to the 46% of you that have him rostered, good on you. To the 54% that don't, and you're going to trot out Trevor Lawrence because of one game and going up against Denver now, come on now. Let's be serious. Let's be serious. If you're actually competing, Jacoby Brisket needs to be in your starting lineup.
Shout out autocorrect.
You
want to take a crack at how many quarterbacks have averaged more fantasy points per game since Jacoby Brissett took over as a starter for Arizona in Week 6? Bonus points if you can name them.
I absolutely cannot, because full transparency, I rely on a lot of other people to tell me how the Arizona games go, because I find it to be very unwatchable. Okay. I'll be completely honest. Okay. I like to get my information from outside sources when it comes to the Cardinals. So you will just,
you can name one of them. You can name one of them for sure.
Is it does his name rhyme with Michael Milson?
No. I'm talking quarterbacks.
Duh. Why did I think receiver?
Why are you talking receivers? Three quarterbacks have averaged more fantasy points per game than Jacoby Brissett since he took over. One of them is Josh Allen.
Duh. One game.
Jackson Dart is averaging 23.2 points per game.
Oh, let me get the last one.
You just brought up his name, ironically enough. No, not Stafford. You just brought up his name, ironically enough.
What?
Trevor Lawrence.
What? Because of one game. Duh.
Weighted by 44 fantasy point game last week. But this is the point. 21 fantasy points per game for Jacoby Brissett. If you want to take out that one really, really good Trevor Lawrence game, only two quarterbacks, Jackson Dart and Josh Allen. Jacoby Brissett has been that dude. Jacoby Brissett's your number one option. I would put Jacoby Brissett twice if I could. Frankly, I honestly just should have, but if you are like in the toilet bowl and you are just like desperately looking for anybody to play at quarterback this week, like CJ Stroud, I don't think is your worst option. Because when you got Ian Rappaport tweeting out paid propaganda for your team, it's beyond Jover for the Raiders, right? They're practicing down in Cancun each week at this point. They're preparing vacation homes in between practices. Like the Raiders are so far checked out, it's not even funny. It's really embarrassing. It's really, really embarrassing. Stroud has averaged 246 yards per game since returning 3 weeks ago. The Raiders are top 10 in schedule adjusted fantasy points per game allowed to quarterbacks in their last 5 outings. I think he's just a fine play if you're in need this week. You get a really fine, good matchup against the Raiders here. You can do a lot worse than CJ Stroud. I think this is another game where the Raiders could get pounded like 28-0 and just walk out just being absolutely like, yeah, no, we're not even here mentally. We're already checked out to Cancun. So I think CJ Stroud could just get a jump on this team, put up 20 plus on them and have a good day, give you a couple through the air, another 230, 240 passing yards as well. He's a fine streaming option. I don't think he's going to be like a top 8 option, but is he going to come in as a top 15 option for me? I think he will. We'll wrap it up here with tight ends. I won't even.
Thank you.
It was fun to have a conversation about Jacoby Brissett. We don't need to sit here and talk about CJ Stroud. Tight end streams, Ty. Colson Loveland, one of my top options for the week at this point, especially without Micah Parsons. If you're going to open up the middle of that field a bit more, you're going to get less pressure off the edge from him as well. It's just going to create more opportunities here, I think, for Colson Loveland.
Yeah, Loveland's volume won't wow you. I'm pretty sure he only has one game with 6 or more targets since their bye week. But sometimes all you need is a steady 8 points from the tight end spot. And he's done that in 3 of his last 4 games. The reason for excitement this week, though, with Loveland, potentially no Rome Odunze, which is, I think, more likely than not because of his injury. Potentially no Luther Burden, who was another who did not practice again on Wednesday. So back-to-back did not practice, or DMPs for Luther Burden. So it's DJ Moore, it's Olamide Zaccheaus, it's Cole Kmet, and it's Loveland as the top pass catchers. And Kmet is kind of an afterthought when it comes to the passing game. Maybe it's another opportunity for Colson Loveland to kind of make the most with some extra opportunities.
All it takes is one touchdown to fall his way this week as well.
Which he got last game against Green Bay. Just saying.
If he catches a touchdown this week. Yeah. So I like the matchup with Green Bay. I think again, not hyper involved. You know, we're not talking about a Trey McBride or even the player that I'm talking about based on the volume that he got last week. But no, I like Loveland this week. If you need an option, if you're struggling, you need a guy who's basically, I would consider him a top 12 plug and play option. I think Cole Kmet's your guy. I'm okay streaming Darren Waller this week. You don't need to yell at me that Quinn Ewers is at quarterback. I'm very fully aware of that. But since the dawn of this show, and even before the dawn of this show, I remember sitting in my apartment my senior year of college, talking with my roommate Avery, and making this statement, right, that tight ends are a backup quarterback's best friend. And I have lived by that since the dawn of the show, since the dawn before the show as well. And you just can't get a better matchup for a backup quarterback to favor his tight end than against the Cincinnati freaking Bengals. They are allowing 5 more points per game than any other team this year to tight ends. They are allowing over 20 freaking 2 fantasy points per game to tight ends. Sometimes I just look at the matchup and the numbers just speak for themselves. And I'm just going to continue to just allow not my motto, but this precedent of if Quinn Ewers is going to throw the football, it's going to be easy completion, short over the middle to Darren Waller. He did catch 6 passes on 7 targets last week as well. So if Mike McDaniels wants to get Quinn Ewers rolling is a very subjective term because I wouldn't be surprised at all if Quinn Ewers only throws the ball 16 times in this game. But
it's
could 7 of those passes go to Darren Waller? I honestly think they might, because who else is he going to actually try and throw the football to? Take a risk with Jalen Waddle, 15-yard crossing route over the middle? Why would you do that with Quinn Ewers when you're playing the Cincinnati Bengals? Play the spots here. It's the running back and the tight ends against the Bengals. So I'm okay streaming Darren Waller if you're in an absolute pit.
What a wild time. We're talking about Darren Waller catching passes for Quinn Ewers in week 16 of fantasy playoffs. What a wild year. I don't know. There is no way this was on anybody's bingo card. And if it was, I need to talk to you. We're going to the casino together and we're absolutely walking out like with this is wild to me that this is a possibility. I'll say that.
I will tell you right now, Darren Waller in this matchup, the Cincinnati Bengals will not be drawing up a scheme to have the whole team on them. That is just fact. Darren Waller's rap song does not apply in this scenario. Never did I think I would need a Darren Waller rap lyric right now for a drop on the show, but here we are, week 16, December 17th at 6:09 p.m. Central Time. Here we are talking about Darren Waller, Quinn Ewers. Darren Waller out of retirement. Crazy stuff here.
As I'm going through the lyrics and I'm like, playing defense, trying to drop a scheme for me. That was the one. That was the one.
And every time he had her out, they had the whole team on me. I get, dude, I watched that clip with Gruden. I get hype. Gruden's so into it.
I, I don't think there's an actual good lyric to use for this scenario. Because I think Darren Waller.
He gonna stick a fork in him, get it done.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you really want one, you you can use your imagination. Sure.
Oh man. This is the point of the episode where we know a lot of you have tuned out, clicked away already, but we still have our fun at the end of the episode. So if you're still here, thank you so much. We appreciate hearing from you all in the comments. If you want more content, you can follow our other socials. FFL is over on Twitter. The FFL is over on Instagram, Fantasy Football Fellas on Facebook and TikTok. If you are a YouTube person through and through, we love you. We got you covered. Fantasy Football Fellas shorts on the Red Play Button app. All exclusive content that is not just like recut up podcast content, all exclusive content that we create separately for you all on those platforms. So make sure you go check it out. You can follow Ty and I on our personal socials as well. I'm at Lucas Wenzel on X, Tyler_Plath for Ty. Are you still combing through the Darren Waller lyrics right now?
Did you know that he had a song with Teron Armstead, Melvin Ingram, and DJ Chark?
Hold on. Why is DJ Chark in that mix? You had me at first, right? I'm like, okay, a bunch of dudes just got to. Why is DJ Chark in that mix? Remember what was it? 2018 DJ Chark?
The legend Jacksonville Jaguar, DJ Chark. Oh, heck
is it
yeah.
2018 DJ Chark? 2019. I was off by a year. 2019 DJ Chark.
We ain't playing no games. We're playing for keeps. It's a sweep. It's a sweep. We ain't playing no games. We playing for keeps. It's a sweep.
You know how we do at the Fantasy Football Fellas, helping you all play for a sweep, playing for keeps, whatever the lyric is. We gotta turn the cameras off, Ty. Thanks so much. We'll be back next week. One for the Sunday live stream, two, only one episode because of the holiday next week. It will be this episode. 18 different players, both of you should be. Actually, I think only 12 players because Cam's on holiday already. Can you believe that? Freaking bozo.
Whatever.
It'll just be Ty and I again next week. 12 different players who will win you a fantasy football championship. We'll see you all on Sunday for the start sit.
Deuces.
Deuces.